Hello everyone, welcome back to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi, dated 28th May 2025. Today again we will be discussing some important topics that has appeared in today's The Hindu and The Indian Express newspapers which are very relevant for your examination. In our first topic we will look into various aspects of monsoon in India, its early arrival, mechanism and its impact on agriculture and economy as a whole. After that, in our second topic, we will look into the status of overnutrition in India and associated concerns like rising cases of non-communicable diseases. Then in our simplified section, we'll take up 5 articles and we will try to explain them in simplest language possible to enrich your understanding of the newspapers. Additionally, we have also incorporated some prelims pointers which is going to be very crucial for your upcoming prelims and mains examination. So have a look on them also and stay tuned. So let's start our discussion with the first topic, that is, why has the monsoon come early this year? The context of this topic is that monsoon arrived on May 24 this year, marking an early onset by almost 1 week ahead of its normal schedule. The normal schedule of onset of monsoon is around 1st June. And this particular topic pertains to syllabus of your GS paper 1, important geophysical phenomena as well as physical geography. Now let's try to understand the basics of monsoon first and then we will see the onset of monsoon. So monsoon is derived from an Arabic word Mausim, which means season. And also the monsoon can be defined as the seasonal reversal of winds which is accompanied by the shifting of intertropical convergence zone or ITCZ. Now what exactly is this ITCZ or intertropical convergence zone? This is a zone where the sun is generally shining at the equator itself, and when the sun is providing too much heat, too much solar radiation, that creates a region of low pressure near the equator itself. And because of this low pressure which is being created near the equator itself, the tropical easterlies are converging because of the high pressure that is there in the subtropical region as compared to the tropical region where there is low pressure. So because of this convergence of easterlies near the equator itself, because of apparent low pressure that is created because of too much heat which has been supplied by the sun, this zone is called as the convergence zone of easterlies. The easterly winds are converging here. This is called as the intertropical convergence zone or ITCZ. But what happens? The sun is not a static body. It is not completely or for the whole duration, it is not limited at equator itself. Rather, it moves from equator towards Tropic of Cancer as well as towards Tropic of Capricorn also. With the apparent movement of sun from equator towards Tropic of Cancer or towards the Tropic of Capricorn, the ITCZ also shifts. So this ITCZ is also not a static zone. Rather, with the apparent movement of sun, it also moves towards the Tropic of Cancer or Capricorn. Now what happens when the sun moves towards the Tropic of Cancer? This ITCZ is also moving towards the Tropic of Cancer in the northern hemisphere. But what happens when this ITCZ is moving towards the Tropic of Cancer? These tropical easterly winds are also being steered towards the Tropic of Cancer. But when these tropical easterlies crosses the equator, they become southwesterly wind because of the impact of the Coriolis force. The Coriolis force, which is a force which is generally generated due to the impact of Earth rotation, and which says that any body in the northern hemisphere will deflect towards its right and it will deflect towards its left in the southern hemisphere. So when these tropical easterlies are crossing the equator, they are coming in the northern hemisphere. Because of the Coriolis force impact, it is deflecting towards its right and it is becoming southwesterly winds. And when these southwesterly winds comes from over the water bodies, they also takes moisture. And when these moisture laden winds are reaching the Indian subcontinent, because of the apparent precipitation which is happening, it leads to the rainfall that is happening, and that is called as the phenomena of monsoonal rainfall. And when these southwesterly winds actually first strike this Kerala coast, that is the place or that is the time when we say that onset of monsoon has happened. And this 4 months period starting from June to September is generally called as the southwest monsoon season. But there are various factors which are impacting the monsoon. For example, El Nino Southern Oscillation is there, under which El Nino La Nina is there. Indian Ocean Dipole is there. So as of now, we do not have a clear understanding about the monsoon as a whole and how exactly the monsoon is doing. How is it coming? What are the various factors that are coming? On one hand, if the scientist gets an idea that okay, there is a positive correlation between this factor like El Nino or IOD or any other factor, in the subsequent years or in the future time, again there is some other phenomena that they observe, and their understanding further gets enhanced. That is the reason we do not have a clear idea that why monsoon came early this year, and this is what is written in the newspaper also, that scientists are trying to establish some correlation, but as of now we do not have clear idea. So the onset this year happened on May 24, which is 1 week early, and which is earliest since 1990. It was May 19 where onset of monsoon happened in year 1990. Also, last such early onset happened in 2019, in which it was May 23 when the monsoon arrived. Also, it was the year where the global temperature increased to almost 0.5 degrees above the pre-industrial baseline. Also, there was mild El Nino this year, but again, onset happened earlier, but that was the year where we have very poor monsoon, and which impacted our agricultural yield as well as overall productivity. So with the delay of the monsoon, there are high chances that there will be monsoonal deficit, rainfall deficit would be there, but there is no guarantee if the onset is happening early, there will be good seasonal outcome or there will be good rainfall. So that is the reason as of now we do not have any consensus on the onset of monsoon, what are the factors which are impacted and how it is getting impacted. So El Nino, La Nina are also the poor predictors. As of now, scientists has tried that if there will be a phenomenon of El Nino, it will negatively impact the monsoon. But again, there are various other factors, both atmospheric as well as the sea surface temperature, that keeps on changing, which are impacting the monsoon. That is the reason our understanding is still evolving about the monsoon. Also, about the 2025 outlook, there is outlook of neutral El Nino southern oscillation and Indian Ocean dipole forecasted so far. Also, decadal indicators suggest there may be a possible El Nino. El Nino southern oscillation is a natural climatic cycle involving the periodic changes in the ocean temperature and the wind patterns in the central and the eastern Pacific Ocean, and it has two main phases, El Nino and La Nina, which influences the global weather, as well as the Indian monsoon is also getting impacted by this El Nino southern oscillation. One of the phase of ENSO is El Nino, where the central and the eastern Pacific Ocean become unusually warmer, and it weakens the Indian monsoon by disrupting the atmospheric circulation, and it often lead to drought-like condition in South Asia. Whereas the opposite of all El Nino is La Nina, where what happens in the La Nina, that central and the eastern Pacific Ocean becomes cooler than normal, and it usually strengthens the Indian monsoon and it brings good rainfall in Indian subcontinent. Also, the Indian Ocean dipole or IOD is the pattern where Indian Ocean is marked by the sea surface temperature changes, where there is differences between sea surface temperature between western and eastern part of the Indian Ocean. A positive Indian Ocean dipole where the west is warmer as compared to the eastern side. It enhances the Indian monsoon as compared to the negative Indian Ocean dipole, which negatively impacts the Indian monsoon, right? So as of now, we do not have any clarity about the onset timing, as well as we do not have much clarity about the El Nino southern oscillation. We will have to wait for our mid-season trends. Also, there are various other factors which are affecting monsoon. The differential heating and the cooling of land and water. As you would be aware of the fact that land gets heated faster as well as it loses heat faster. But comparatively, if we see the water bodies, they heats in a slower time, and obviously it loses the heat in a much higher duration. That is the reason when land loses the heat faster, there is again the high pressure will be there. Whereas again, when the sun is heating or the insolation is happening, when there is too much of heat which is being supplied to the land areas, obviously because of the apparent heating which happened, and with the high temperature, with the high heating, there will be a low pressure that will be created in the land areas. And when there will be low pressure in the land areas, comparatively the sea and the water bodies will take much more time to get warmer. So obviously they will be cooler. There will be high pressure in the water bodies compared to the land areas. So because of this low pressure which has created in the land areas as compared to the water bodies which have high pressure, these high pressure will high pressure will come towards, or these high pressure winds will come towards the low pressure areas, land areas, and when they are coming, they will also pick moisture along with that, and when that moisture laden wind will come towards the Indian subcontinent, precipitation will happen, and obviously it will lead to rainfall, which will be also one of the factor in enhancing the monsoon rainfall, and that happens actually in the monsoon season. Also, the high pressure near the Madagascar, because of this high pressure near the Madagascar, especially East Madagascar, this also pushes winds towards the Indian subcontinent, where there is a low pressure zone has been created because of the apparent heating of the land areas. So that also ensures that more and more moisture laden winds are coming towards Indian subcontinent. And then also intense heating of the Tibetan plateau, because Tibetan plateau is also a large parcel of land. When again it is being heated, low pressure is being created. Because of this low pressure which is being created under the Tibetan plateau, it also is one of the factor, it is steering these high pressure winds or the winds towards the Indian subcontinent, which is picking the moisture along with, and they are coming towards the Indian subcontinent, which will lead to good rainfall in the Indian subcontinent region. Also, the movement of westerly jet stream. So jet stream are the fast moving narrow band of strong winds in the upper atmosphere, and usually it is found between 9 to 16 kilometers above the earth's surface, and it influences the weather patterns and the movement of monsoon by steering the weather system and pressure zone. Normally it is the westerly jet stream which is there, and when the monsoon winds start coming towards the Indian subcontinent, these westerly jet stream leaves Indian subcontinent slowly and gradually, and they move towards the northern sides, and the easterly jet stream start coming towards the Indian subcontinent. With the apparent northern movement of the westerly jet stream and with the apparent northern movement of easterly jet stream towards the Indian subcontinent, again the monsoonal winds are being steered towards the Indian subcontinent. So these jet streams are also steering the monsoonal winds towards the Indian subcontinent, and they are the important factor which are impacting the monsoon. Also, the El Nino and the La Nina that we have seen, that is the temperature difference, the oceanic temperature difference between the Eastern Pacific Ocean and the Western Pacific Ocean. They are also one of the important component. When there will be a pattern of El Nino, it will negatively impact the Indian monsoon, whereas the La Nina will enhance the monsoonal rainfall in India. So these are also the factors which are impacting the monsoon. Now, what is the division of the monsoon? There is two divisions. One is the southwest monsoon season, which is seasonal in character, and it occurs between June and September. Whereas the retreating monsoon season is there, which is marked by the clear skies and rise in temperature, and months of October and November are known as retreating monsoon. What I said, the southwest monsoon, the easterly winds, when they have been deflected towards its right because of the Coriolis force in the northern hemisphere, these were the southwesterly winds, and when they strikes this western Ghats region, orographic rainfall happens, and then again when reaches to this Arakan mountain ranges, they strike this Arakan mountain ranges and they get deflected towards the Indo-Gangetic plain, and then again rainfall happens in this zone of Indo-Gangetic plain, and which is very important for India's agriculture, right? So after that the retreating monsoon happens, and which generally marked by the clear skies, rise in temperature, and that is the reason that is also called as the phenomenon of October heat, and these areas of the Tamil Nadu etc. mainly gets the rain from this retreating monsoon season. Now, what are the impacts of the monsoon? It highly impacts the Indian agriculture. In India, 50 to 60% of India's irrigation needs are being fulfilled by the monsoon itself, and almost 85 to 86% of the farmers in India are marginal. They do not have the diesel pumps or solar pumps as such, and that is the reason they are highly dependent on Indian monsoon itself. And whenever there is a deficient monsoon, it highly impact the productivity, the production of the agriculture products, and it also creates a question mark on the food security of India. Also, the crop yield and the crop diversity are also impacted because of too much of rainfall that is available in this 4-month season. There are various small and marginal farmers which tries to grow various other crops like the fruits, vegetables, the jayat crops etc., which are grown. The short duration crops are also farmers also tries to grow. But when there will be deficient rainfall, if the monsoonal rainfall will not be good, this crop diversity as well as the crop yield will also be impacted. Also, if you look into in last few years, what we have seen from we have seen a drastic improvement. There was a time when we were witnessing such a high food insecurity that we do not have even proper food to eat. We were dependent on the imports from various developed countries like PL480 from America. But again, in last few years, because of the green revolution, because of various scientific interventions that we have seen, there has been consistent increase in the food grain production, and also there has been increase in the horticulture production, which has surpassed the food grain production. Also, because of this crop diversity, there are different kind of cuisines which we witness in Indian subcontinent, and for that one important aspect can be monsoon. Also, it impacts the economy. That as per the forecast of the RBI, 1% rainfall deficit reduces the GDP growth rate by almost 0.3%, because agriculture is one of the raw material supply to various other industries like food processing industries, etc. And when there will be a deficient rainfall, when there will be less production of agriculture products, obviously there will be demand and supply mismatch. The supply would be less, demand will be more or less same, and that will create a high inflation in the economy. So obviously it is and when there will be high inflation, the demand of goods and services will decrease, household consumption expenditure will reduce, and which will negatively impact the GDP growth also. So with the less rainfall, with the negative monsoon or the less monsoon, it highly impacts the GDP growth rate as well as inflation. Also, the headline inflation which we see generally, because whenever there will be deficient rainfall, it will lead to high inflation because less production of the agriculture products is happening. But there is another aspect. There are various observations which we have seen in the economic survey also. The headline inflation, where the food and fuel components are much more as compared to the core inflation, where the food and fuel components are less. Now, if you look into some of these months of the monsoonal rainfall, the headline inflation becomes high, or the food inflation is very high. One of the important reason for that is the plucking of these food products, these vegetables, etc. get highly impacted because of monsoon rainfall. There are various other supply chain disruptions, the transportation issues that keeps on going due to the monsoonal rainfall. For example, road would not be proper, or a tree may fell on the road. So when there will be inconsistent supplies, obviously the availability of these products in the mandis will not be good, and when again the supply crunch would be there, that will again shoot up the prices. So this is a very good observation which we saw in the economic survey, that if we see the months of the monsoon season, that also correlates with the high food inflation in the economy. Also, the exports and the economic growth will be impacted, because what we have seen, that 4 components of GDP are household consumption expenditure, private investment, government spending, and net of exports. When there is less rainfall, there will be less food grain production. When there will be less food grain production, people will not be demanding food grains, and when that will reduce the household consumption expenditure, that will negatively impact GDP growth rate. Obviously, when there are less food grains, then the prices of these food products will become high, and obviously when the prices of these food products will become high, the competitiveness of our products will become less, and obviously there will be decline in the exports also, which will also negatively impact our GDP growth rate. Also, the hydroelectric power generation, they will be also impacted, and there are various industries which requires consistent supply of power, and they will be also impacted, and that may lead to less production of the goods and services. And it also impacts the biodiversity. For example, rejuvenation of wetlands happen, which improves the availability or the diversity of flora and fauna. Also, on the culture, it highly impacts. There are various festivals that are celebrated during this 4-month season of the monsoon. For example, Tej and Onam, etc., which is celebrated, and it also highly impacts the culture, various aspects like various songs like Chaiti Chaita, Birha, etc. that are sung. Then it also impacts the folk art, that various new kind of the folk songs that are sung, the movies that are made. And this is the reason there was a question that was asked in the UPSC examination about the southwest monsoon wind that are called as Purvaiya or easterly in the Bhojpur region, and how this wind system influences the cultural ethos. So you'll have to write about the folk arts, you have to write about the folk songs, the food habits, the attire, and the religious festivals that are celebrated. All that can be written in these kind of dynamic questions which are asked. Also, there are various negative impacts. For example, floods, landslides that can come because of untimely rainfall and untimely and without warning the opening of the dam gates, etc. So that may lead to loss of life and property, and that is the reason often we see, and there has been various example of Kerala floods, etc. in past few years, which led to loss of life and property. So there are some negative impacts of also the monsoon. So what we can conclude conclude from this discussion is that as of now, we are improving our understanding related to the monsoon. Also, to some extent, we have understood it, but again, our understanding is not complete. There was a prelims question in 2014. The seasonal reversal of winds is the typical characteristic of monsoon climate. Just see how basic questions are being asked in those years. And now what kind of difficult question UPSC has started asking. And this is a mains practice question that you people can write from this topic. Discuss the role of variability of Indian monsoon on Indian economy, agriculture and water resources. Moving towards our next topic, that is India's new urban worry, rising overnutrition. And the context of this topic is that a write-up has appeared focusing on rising overnutrition. And this is related to your GS paper 2 health. So the context of this topic is that there is a report which has been published in Nature and that studies the prevalence of metabolic dysfunction associated fatty liver diseases among the IT employees of Hyderabad. And what it says that 84% had fatty liver. There is accumulation of fat in the liver and 71% were obese. And why this is so much of prevalence of fatty liver disease and obesity is because of the fact they have a sedentary lifestyle, that they do not do physical activities. They are just sitting on their chair and they are just sitting on their cubicles. They are just coding. They are just doing anything related to their work. Apart from that, there is high salt intake because of the availability of high sodium, potassium and salt availability in the processed foods that they are consuming, because they do not have time to even cook. And also the high sugar intake that they are doing. So because of all these things, and the disruptive sleep patterns, that there is no proper sleep that they are taking because of the work pressure or because of this hustle culture that is there. So high salt intake, lack of proper sleep, as well as this sedentary lifestyle is making them highly prone to these kind of non-communicable diseases like diabetes and other cardiovascular diseases. So India is facing the double burden of malnutrition. On one side we are facing the issue of hunger. In the global hunger index, just look at our rank, how poor it is. We have a burden on ensuring the food security for the children. We also have to ensure that our IMR, MMR, etc. reaches to a zero level. But on the other hand, we are facing this burden of overnutrition, that there is a population which is very prone to the cardiovascular diseases and diabetes and other non-communicable diseases. So India ranked second globally in overweight and the obesity prevalence. Also, as per the WHO non-communicable diseases, 74% of global deaths happened in 2019 itself. And it is majorly happen in low and middle income countries like India itself, where people are not focusing on their health properly. Also, it will be highly difficult for us to achieve our sustainable development goal targets related to the poverty, hunger, related to health, if we will be one of the highest contributors to these kind of non-communicable diseases. Also, what happened in Tamil Nadu in 2023-24, there was again a step survey that was conducted, and it said that 65% of deaths in Chennai are due to the non-communicable diseases only. And among treated, the hypertensives, only 16% have controlled BP or the blood pressure, and 99.3% among that was 18 to 44 age group. Because of the too much pressure that they are subjected to, because related to their work, the work pressure, whether they are in office or they are in home, that they are subjected to, that leads to creation of high blood pressure, hypertension, etc. Only 9% of young diabetic maintain the glycemic control. The glycemic index is the index that whatever food that you are intaking, how fast it will shoot up your blood sugar level. That is the glycemic index. So there are people who are not focusing on the foods that have low glycemic index like millets and like makhana, etc. Rather, they are eating these processed food like pizza, burgers, fries, etc., which have high glycemic index. Also, that is the overweight and obesity prevalence in this Chennai region was around 1.6 and 14.2% respectively. And 94.2% report inadequate food and vegetable intake, 24.4% low physical activities. That when they are not taking fruits, vegetables, because of this, there are multiple other issues that they are facing. For example, constipation and other issues related to lack of proper digestion, because they do not have even that time that they will bring the fruits, they will chop it properly to intake that. They do not even understand the importance of these fruits and vegetable, various macro and micronutrients that they will be able to provide. Also, there was a program in the Tamil Nadu which actually was launched to address this non-communicable disease issue, and it was a multi-sectoral approach where 3.79 lakh employees were screened via workplace interventions, that there were various camps that were established at the workplace in the offices itself. And since January 2024, 3.79 lakhs people were screened. Now, let's try to understand what is the importance of this, because this can lead to behavioral change. Tomorrow, if someone tells you, see, you're this much indicator in your body is not that good, for example, BP is not good, or the vitamins intake is not good, and when that they will give you a proper report by having your blood test or by having your test of BP, sugar, etc. And they can recommend you something, please increase the intake of fruits, vegetables, or take some vitamins after recommendation of doctor, have a consultation with the doctor. So that may lead to a behavioral change. That is the reason in the first case it is the screening that is important, because people on their own will not go for the test because they think that they are completely fine, there is no need of any support. And that is the reason this screening at workplace will lead to better interventions. Also 8-kilometer health walk which lead to eat right challenge, and that will again lead to behavioral change. This was being promoted, and that can address the sedentary lifestyle of the people. And also because of this, there are various reasons for this rising burden of the non-communicable diseases, as well as the these kind of obesity and etc. So the income of the people are increasing, and when the income of the people are increasing, obviously they can afford the ready-made foods, ready-to-eat foods. They can afford the Swiggy and the Zomato, etc. And that because they have the high income, although most of them would be facing difficulty at the month ends. So because of this increase in the income of the people are preferring processed food, ultra processed foods, as well as ready to eat foods. Again, they are not preferring to going to kitchen and making or cooking food on their own. Also, the information that they do not have the proper information about the unhealthy choices that they are making, lack of proper nutrition in the food that they are taking, and the technology that has increased, the digital connection, the gig economy that has boomed. Again, it has become much easier that within 15 to 20 minutes food will come at your table, at your home, without even thinking or without even considering that what has been the condition of that food, or was it refrigerated and then it was microwaved and it was delivered at your home or not. And the employment, because of the high employment that we are witnessing, that when in the IT sector, the services sector boom that we have witnessed, that these people do not have time to even cook food because of this hustle that they want to do, so that they can go for overtime, they can earn more money, and with that money they will be able to do some other things in their life, whatever they want to. So because of this employment and the work pressure, again they do not have the time to come out of their sedentary lifestyle. And the infrastructure with better connection, with better roads, with better technologies, again the ready to eat foods are reaching properly. More than that, with the more technological advancements related to food processing, etc., with more infrastructure building, more private investment, more better investment in the food processing industry, this is ensuring that the food grain production, the processing of the foods are also happening at a better level. Also, the underlying causes like sedentary lifestyle, lack of the dietary diversity, that they are just eating some ready to eat foods, they are not eating fruits, vegetables, nuts, dry fruits, etc. The poor infant and child feeding practices, that the child for which the milk of the mother is very crucial, they are not getting that properly because of the hormonal imbalances or various other hormonal issues. The poor water and sanitation, which is other leading to underlying communicable disease, which makes them more prone to the other non-communicable diseases. Also, other immediate determinants are lack of physical activity, poor dietary intake, and other underlying diseases, or the genetic reasons for having that diseases, for example diabetes, etc., can happen because of the genetic reasons. And this is leading to various issues, for example maternal overnutrition, the overweight, obesity, and the particular related maternal diabetes that can happen, and the child undernutrition leading to stunting, wasting, and underweight of the children, which will also impact their cognitive abilities, the development of their brains, etc., as well as their future. And the consequences of all these are happening: non-communicable diseases, poor reproductive health, there are issues related to infertility, etc., that are coming, growth retardation, whether it is the mental growth or the physical growth, and the impaired cognitive development, that is the aptitude of the people are not developing properly because of this poor intake. And that is the reason there are some global best practices which has been highlighted in the editorial also, which is being followed. For example, in Saudi Arabia there is 50% tax on sugary drinks, 100% on energy drink. There is mandatory calorie labeling on each food product, and sodium limits has been also imposed on the processed foods. Also it has been recognized by WHO for trans fat elimination and sodium best practices. There is also integrated strategy across policy, industry, civic engagement under the Vision 2030. Also in the Chile there are warning label model where the black front of pack warning label with high fat, salt and sugar foods. Also marketing restriction on junk food, especially to children, school food regulation. So for example, near the schools there is banning of the unhealthy foods. This is the kind of foods that are available in Chile. You can see the black labels that are there, which is giving an idea about the high sugar, high salt and the fat content that is available. Now just think of India, what is there? The small labeling is there about the trans fat content, about the sodium content. People even don't look at that. People even do not have idea what is the sugar content in the thumbs up, taste the thunder that you were drinking. Because there are no such restriction, because there are no such regulations, because there is improper regulation, because you don't have information. The high 200 ml bottle of the thumbs up that you are drinking, how it will impact your health. Because of this information, obviously your health and others' health are also getting impacted. So there is need for proper regulation. For example, in the tobacco products there is a big picture of the cancer. There is a proper warning that is there, and there has been various studies which has been conducted which has given an idea that because of all these things it has impacted, it has helped in addressing the issues of the tobacco use and tobacco prevalence. That is the reason if these kind of warnings would be there on the food products which have high salt, high sugar content as well as high fat content, it can help in ensuring that the intake of these food products will be decreased and people will be shifting towards the more better nutritious and healthy choices. Also, this is what is the regulatory and the market challenges, that as of now there is no strict regulation, there is no explicit regulation, and that is the reason these ultra processed foods are being sold at a higher rate, they are being consumed at a higher rate. Also, because of this ultra processed foods consumption, you can see that the national trends which has been highlighted in National Family Health Survey 5, that increase with the age, that the consumption from 7% that men 15 to 19 years and to 32% from men of 40 to 49 years, rises with the income, that is the prevalence of non-communicable diseases, obesity and all these things from 10% to 37%. In it affects both the gender as well as there are urban-rural divide. Overweight obesity affects 46.1% of urban men, 43% of urban women compared to only 35.4% and 31.6% in rural areas. Why? Because in rural areas people do not have a sedentary lifestyle, although it is reaching there, but they do not have sedentary lifestyle. They go on fields, they work there, they go on walk, they work on the whatever fields, etc. So because of the high physical activity, there is less prevalence of overweight obesity in the rural areas. But again, because of the better infrastructure, because of better reach of these ultra processed foods, the fat content, obesity and overweight things are also being witnessed in the rural areas. And this is again our data from the Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, which says that Indians shy away from physical activity. They just love lying on the bed, scrolling the Instagram, scrolling the YouTube videos, reels and the YouTube shorts. That it says that this ICMR research that 54% of Indians are physically inactive and less than 10% engaged in any kind of recreational or the physical activities like yoga, playing cricket, playing badminton or any kind of that thing. And that is the reason they are burdened with disease. 13.5 crore are the obesity people, 7.2 crore diabetic people, and that is the reason 4.2 crore people have thyroid disorder and 8 crore have hypertension, 5.5 crore have cardiovascular diseases. And there has been various government initiatives which has been taken to address these issues. For example, this Eat Right India, where there has been a focus on promoting the behavioral changes. For example, they are promoting the consumption of cereals and the pulses, and consume it in adequate quantity, and that too the food products which have low glycemic index. Food and drink high in fat, sugar should be consumed very less. Also, milk and milk products should be consumed in plenty, because milk is such a food product which have a very good availability of macro and micronutrients. Meat, fish and poultry should be consumed moderately, and fruits and vegetables should be consumed liberally, properly, so that the needs of the nutrients can be fulfilled. Also, there is need for balanced, healthy and diet. This is again what has been promoted by the government of India, to eat healthy. Diet diversification, don't limit only to consuming cereals or pulses, have a good amount of fruits, vegetable. Also, eliminate the toxic industrial trans fats, reduce consumption of salt, sugar and saturated fats, eating fortified staples to address the micronutrient deficiencies. Also, this Fit India movement, where various celebrities participated, that they were giving various challenges to each other. Also, with the help of this Fit India movement, there were various behavioral changes, like use stairs instead of the lifts that you are using. All these were actually promoting the healthy lifestyle. Then there has been integrated child development services, ICDS, where the Anganwadi workers and helpers are providing services, where the supplementary nutrition are being provided to the small children as well as the lactating mothers. Preschool education is being provided so that the cognitive abilities can be developed. Health and nutrition education is being provided, that the importance of healthy diets, the issues with the ultra processed foods, the immunization, that when they will go with all the immunization at every stage, they will be able to tackle the communicable diseases, etc., that they may get in future. Also, the referral services are provided. Also, the Poshan Vatika, where the seeds of medicinal plants and herbs in your gardens and use them in your meals daily is being promoted. For example, the basil or the tulsi leaves and other important things, neem leaves, etc., that plant these trees. If possible, try to use them in your daily diet, because that can actually help in addressing the inflammation in your body, that can actually help in addressing that can actually help you in creating a proper healthy lifestyle. And then Mission Poshan 2.0 and Sakshan Anganwadi, where the 2 lakh Anganwadis will be upgraded to Saksham Anganwadis. Nutritional norm and standards will be improved. Quality and testing of take-home rations to be strengthened, and traditional community food habits will be promoted, as well as delivery of food under the supplementary nutrition program will be optimized. So what should be done? There is need for more awareness generation, and also there is more focus should be on the actions, that there is need for taxation on unhealthy foods, because when there will be high taxation on unhealthy foods, the cost of these products will increase, people will shift towards the healthy choices. More than that, because of these, companies will also be shifting towards the healthy choices, they will be also producing healthy food products. Also, there is need for stricter regulation of food marketing and manufacturing. There was a report 2 days back that there was adulterated paneer that was caught in Gorakhpur area of the Uttar Pradesh, and which was being supplied every day to the nearby districts like Kushinagar, Sant Kabir Nagar, Maharajganj, etc. In that case, it is because of the lax attitude of the authorities, that they are not checking properly that what kind of food products are coming in the market. In Lucknow itself, when the food department conducted various checks, even some of the big brands, they were not following the healthy practices. That is the reason there is need for a strict check, there is need for a proper oversight mechanism that will actually help in addressing the illegal food adulteration that is happening. Also, there is need for cross-sector coordination to realign India's nutrition and health trajectory. There is need for coordination between Ministry of Health, Ministry of Youth Welfare, Ministry of the Child and Women and Child Development, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, because when they will be coordinating properly, it will ensure that our policies are not in silos, rather there is proper intersectoral coordination, and which was also witnessed in Saudi Arabia model, where we have seen it was successful because of intersectoral coordination. On one hand, if the Ministry of Health is promoting Eat Right movement or Eat Healthy, on the second hand, if the Ministry of Food Processing Industry is also providing some support to the industries which are shifting to the healthier product, obviously this is an intersectoral or interministerial coordination that we are witnessing. Also, there is need for promoting preventive preventative care, that people should screen them properly, they should go for regular checkups. Even if they are having some uneasiness in their daily lifestyle, they should consult the doctors, etc., or at least they should not go for the self medication. So this can actually help us in addressing the issues of the burden of the non-communicable diseases, and there is need for focusing on health education and wellness. Also, we can utilize the technology, for example the telemedicine facilities, the telemanas facilities, and the digital health records which we are witnessing by the help of Ayushman Bharat digital missions, etc. They needs to be utilized properly. People who are not part of this, they should be incorporated, and this can actually help in addressing the high burden of non-communicable disease. And this is a mains practice question that you people can write from this topic. Moving towards our simplified section, that how free trade agreements with US, UK, European Union could impact India's agricultural trade. And this is related to your GS paper 2, effect of policies and politics of countries on India's interest, international treaties and agreements, government policies and intervention. And this can also be related to your GS paper 3, growth and development. And this has appeared in today's Indian Express explained section, that is page number 17. So India is in talks with the signing or finalization of free trade agreements with various countries, and that is the reason when the free trade agreement will be signed, there will be drastic reduction in the various tariffs that are imposed on various commodities which are traded between both the countries who have signed the free trade agreements. First, let's try to understand what exactly is the free trade agreement. There are different trade agreement, and with the what is the degree of integration between the countries. For example, the first level of integration is the preferential trade area, which is where there is lower tariff, but they completely do not eliminate the barrier among the members. That there are limited products, there are positive list which is maintained under the preferential trade area, where that preferential trade area agreement will be applicable on those positive list commodities only, that both countries will be reducing their tariff or non-tariff barriers only on those products. And then there is the second degree of integration, that is free trade area, where they will eliminate all the internal barriers but maintain the independent external barriers, that there will be a negative list that will be maintained between both the countries, that this free trade agreement will not be applicable on those products which has been kept under the negative list, except that on all the commodities which are being traded between the countries, that will be applicable, that free trade agreement will be applicable. And that is the reason under free trade agreement both the countries go for almost zero to tariffs on the products that are being traded, not completely zero but almost zero. They go for a drastic reduction. And why this is done? To ensure that there is better market access for the products. For India, let's suppose India is good producer of the basmati rice, so India will have better market access. The tariffs that were being earlier imposed by other countries, they will be reducing the import duty or the custom duty on the basmati rice of India, so India will have a better market access, India's export potential will increase. But also under this they will be maintaining an independent external barriers. What will be the tariff from India to Australia or any other countries, that will not be impacted when India UK are going for a free trade agreement. Only they will be going for the agreements or the reduction in tariff between them. They can maintain independent tariffs with the rest of the world. Then there is custom union, where we will be eliminating internal barriers. We will also be agreeing on common external barriers, like for example European Union, etc., where they have also agreed for a common external barriers, that what will be the tariff that India will be imposing on Australia or any other country, that will be also decided when India and UK are going for custom union, or any two countries or group of countries are going for custom union. They are deciding or they are reducing tariffs between themselves, as well as they are ensuring that they have a common tariff with the rest of the world also. Then there is a common market, where we eliminate internal barriers, adopt common external barriers. We also allow free movement of resources, that is labor and the capital, etc. For example, you would have seen that there are various people who go for US and various other countries for job, but again there is not free movement. The visa restrictions are there. For what purpose you are going, for what job you are going, all that has to be told to the US authority, and then only then they will issue the visa. And that is the reason in the common market what happens, that there is also free movement of the resources, that is labor, capital, etc. There is less restriction. In the economic union we will be eliminating internal barriers, we will also be adopting common external barriers. There will be a free movement of resources, and there will be uniform set of economic policies also, uniform set of economic policies, like what will be the industrial policy, what will be the trade policies, etc. That will be also decided together. And then there can be a full integration. For example, what is happening in United States among the different different states. This is about the free trade agreement. So India is in talks to sign the free trade agreements with various countries, and that is the reason it will be also impacting the commodities that India is exporting related to the agriculture, as well as the commodities that we are importing. The import and exports of all these products will be impacted, which has been highlighted in this explained section of Indian Express. Also, that what can be one of the possible question in the prelims examination is India's top agri export item as well as India's top agri import item. They will generally be not asking the specific item, that a specific value or the number, but they can ask a increasing or decreasing order. For example, India's top export products are marine products like shrimp, etc. Then we have the non-basmati rice, then basmati rice, spices, buffalo meat, sugar, and then we have the fruits and vegetables, then processed foods and vegetables, and then coffee. And total agri export is around $51,940 million. And then top agriculture import items, one of the important is the vegetable oil that we are importing. One of the most important aspect, and we are spending a lot on this. This is the highest expense that we are doing, that is on the vegetable oil. Then we have the pulses. We are highest producer, importer as well as consumer of the pulses. And then the fresh fruits is there, cashew, spices, sugar, raw cotton, alcoholic beverages, natural rubber is there. In the recently concluded 2025 examination, I told to all the students that National Turmeric Board was established, and there are high chances that they will be asking question related to turmeric. And there was a question on turmeric in 2025 prelims examination which just concluded few days back. So whatever the things that you are getting, whatever the updates you are getting, there are high chances that you will get questions on that. And the question that was asked in the prelims examination, all the three statements were directly copied from the PIB itself, and we also incorporate in our discussions. Also, this is the graph of India's agriculture trade, that how it is haphazard, it is not consistently increasing or consistently decreasing. Moving towards our next topic, that is energy and efficiency. Again, this is an editorial which has been there in the today's The Hindu. It is related to your GS paper 3, environmental pollution and degradation, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 8. So the writer is saying if India will go for energy efficiency, that for example the appliances that we are using, the ACs at our home, whether they are 3-star or 5-star, if we will shift to 5-star, obviously the electricity consumption will be low. Instead of using the bulbs, if we are shifting to LED bulbs, that will again consume less electricity. If we are shifting to energy efficient appliances, that will actually help in reducing our energy, and which will also help in ensuring that we have a much brighter future, much better future. We will be also able to achieve our target of net zero by 2070, because for electricity production, most of our electricity is being produced from the coal itself, and that is contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. So if we will shift to energy efficient appliances, that can actually help in reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. So the writer says that despite robust growth in electricity generation over the past 2 decades with rapid addition in renewable energy, India has been unable to meet its peak power demand, which we witness generally in this month of the summer season, and with a deficit widening from 0.69% in financial year 20 to about 5% in financial year 25. And this reveals constraint in supply of power. New power production is time consuming, especially if fossil fuel based, even as India attempts to integrate renewable energy into power grid. That, see, when it is not whatever the power grids are there which leads to supply of the electricity, if we want to link it with the renewable energy, we will have to go for the technological change which requires investment. If we want to invest or we want to go for more power production, again there is need for the investment where financial constraints are there. Also the gestation period is very high. But if we will shift to the more efficient appliances, the demand of the electricity will be reducing, and that is the reason it will also help in addressing that peak demand, and whatever the supply as of now, that will be completely sufficient to fulfill the needs of the people. Also, one such scheme like Ujala, which was launched by the government of India, which has actually helped in price of energy efficient light emitting diode bulb from 500 a decade ago to rupees 70 only, and that is the reason because of this Ujala scheme, due to which the people have shifted to LED bulbs. It has actually helped in reducing almost 46,000 million kilowatt hour energy saved annually till 4 October 2019. Also 18,716 crore was saved annually, and 3.78 crore tons of carbon emission were reduced. Also government distributed free LED bulbs, because to go for that behavioral change, that when people will go or people will get some free LED bulbs, when they will understand the importance of LED bulbs, whenever that bulb will become fuse or non-functional, they will again go for the LED bulb. So this is the behavioral change which government was focusing on. So because of this, one of the scheme, we have actually addressed the carbon emissions. We have been able to save money, as well as we have been able to save energy also. That is the reason we also need to shift towards some of these more energy efficient appliances. Also some of the data related to India's power generation. Again, it is about India's power generation, and this is about the India's power capacity, that is the maximum potential that we have. So this is one of the data, and this is the updated data from the Niti Aayog website. The coal is contributing to 72.57 in the power generation, and then we have the hydropower. After that we have the solar power with 7.51%, and then we have the wind with 4.83%, and subsequently other small hydro. Before that we have the nuclear, and then we have the oil and gas, then we have the small hydro, and then we have the biopower. Whereas the capacity, if we want to talk about, the coal is contributing 47.29. Here the solar is the second highest contributor with the 21.52, and after that we have the wind, hydro, then oil and gas, and then we have the biopower, nuclear, and then small hydro. So again, the increasing and decreasing order of this can be asked in the examination, and this is updated till 31st January 2025. This I have taken from Niti Aayog website. Next topic is that center restores the RoDTEP scheme for the exporters. So this is related to your GS paper 2, government policies and intervention. This has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 15. So the context is that in a decision that would have major impact on the boosting India's export competitiveness, the government on Tuesday announced the restoration of the remission of duties and taxes on exported products, that is RoDTEP scheme, for exporter done by advance authorization holders, export oriented units, and units in special economic zones. So these SEZs or special economic zones are the deemed foreign territories, and the particular tariffs etc. are very less, and there are various other benefits which are provided in special economic zones. For example, the capital subsidies are provided, land subsidies is provided, electricity subsidies provided, there is lack of proper infrastructure, lack of proper supply of the electricity. So all these units which are exporting and which are related to these advance authorization holder, export oriented units whose major focus is on export only, and the units especially located in special economic zones which are deemed foreign territory, they all will be getting the RoDTEP scheme, and the benefits for them was suspended, and that is now it has been again given to them. So this is 2021 scheme. It reimburses the exporter for any embedded levies that are not reimbursed under any other scheme. What are those levies? For example, the levies related to the taxes, the mandi taxes and other local level taxes, all that will be given back to the exporters. The restoration is expected to go a long way in improving the global competitiveness of Indian exporters. Extension of benefits to the advance authorization holders, export oriented units and SEZs will recognize their critical roles in the export ecosystem, and government has urged to make benefits available with effect from February 7. Also, under this reimbursement of cumulative indirect taxes, that all the mandi taxes and the local level taxes, all that will be given back. It will ensure goal of zero rating for the export products, so that our exports can be promoted, our export become more competitive at the global level. It will also lead to utilization of high-end technologies, because the money that companies will be saving, they will be investing that in their technology, in the infrastructure, etc. Also, it will lead to fixed percentage tax rebate. It will also be bring inclusivity across sector. There is no discrimination that will happen across different sectors. Moving towards our next topic, that is Defense Minister approves the AMCA fighter jet. So this AMCA, that is Advanced Multi-Combat Aircraft, is a 5th generation aircraft. As of now, we do not have any 5th generation aircraft, and this is related to your GS paper 3 defense, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 60. So Defense Minister has approved the execution model for Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft AMCA, under which HAL will compete with the private industries to manufacture the indigenous 5th generation fighter jet. As of now, the Tejas is being manufactured by HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited only, but here they will be competing with other private players. Also, the Aeronautical Development Agency is set to execute the program through industry partnership with the Defense Ministry said on Tuesday. Also, what exactly is this first, second, third, fourth and 4.5 5th generation aircraft? The first generation aircraft used turbojets for the propulsion instead of early piston driven aircrafts. And then second generation has integrated new technology. They have the swept or delta wings and guided missile for beyond visual range combat. For example, MiG-21, Sukhoi 7, F-104 Starfighter, etc. Third generation were inducted with improved radar, missiles, avionics. Mirage third, MiG-25, F-4 Phantom are the third generation. Fourth generation incorporated fly-by-wire control and multi-role capabilities. That, for example, they can fight also. Mirage, they can go for reconnaissance also. Mirage 2000, MiG-29, Sukhoi 27, Tornado, F-16 Fighting Falcon, all that are part of fourth generation. Then the 4.5 generation, they used more advanced avionics, the radars, the electronic equipments that are there, and with some stealth. What is this stealth technology that I will be discussing? Sukhoi 30, MKI, Gripen, Eurofighter Typhoon, F-16, Desert Falcon, FA-18 Super Hornet, all that were 4.5. Fifth generation are the multi-role or swing role, but also incorporate advanced stealth technology, composite materials, super cruise and supersonic cruise speeds without use of afterburners. And afterburners are actually, they are the equipments that provided thrust to the aircraft. And they have the better sensors, integrated avionics. And as of now, it is FA-22 Raptor, which is one of the 5th generation fighter aircraft. So actually what happens that whenever any aircraft is airborne, there are various radar systems that are available on ground, and they actually tries to look into the location speed of those aircraft so that they can fire some surface to air missile, or they can give information to various other our own aircraft that are airborne, that okay, this is the aircraft, this is the speed and all those things of the enemy aircraft. So whenever these radars are available on ground, they send electromagnetic waves, and when that electromagnetic waves strikes to this fighter aircrafts, and when that signals that waves gets reflected back to this radar station, that gives an idea about the speed of this aircraft, about the location, the maneuverability of that aircraft, etc. But what happens, the stealth technology, with the stealth technology, these aircrafts are using such materials that whatever the electromagnetic wave that was sent from the on ground, rather than getting reflected back, it was absorbed with the help of total internal reflection itself. For example, the radar, the electromagnetic wave that went in the earlier case without stealth technology, that will strike to the aircraft, and then the wave will come back to the ground station. It will give an idea about the speed about the aircraft. But here with the stealth technology, that electromagnetic wave will be going through the total internal reflection within the body of the aircraft itself, and then it will be converted into heat energy. So it is not getting reflected back, it is not coming on the ground itself, and in that case this aircraft will have better survivability, it will have better maneuverability while being airborne. So this stealth technology is one of the important feature of this 5th generational aircraft. So India has also gone for ensuring that we will be able to make one, and the target is to have the aircraft ready for induction by 2034, because it takes a lot of time to make the engine, make the aircraft, then they go on for the tests, etc. So this will take at least 8-9 years or more than that. Also, this was a question that was asked in the UPSC Prelims 2024 examination: which of the following aircrafts are the 5th generation aircraft? All these three were incorrect. Correct answer was the none was the correct answer here. D, none was the correct answer. None of these are considered 5th generation fighter aircraft. Also, it is again, India is looking for various other craft like F-35 or Su-57, the checkmate of the Russia, which are in the pipeline. Discussions are going on, and why it is important for India actually to develop a fifth generation aircraft? Because China has already fielded two fifth generation fighters, and also they are set to supply 40 J-35s to Pakistan, and that is the reason it becomes prudent for India to ensure the safety and security of our borders, our people, that we also need to develop proper fifth generation aircraft. Moving towards our next topic, that is Padma Award. Former Chief Justice of India, Justice J.S. Khehar, as well as various other people like actor Anant Nag were among some people who were given the Padma Awards. And this is related to your GS paper 1, Indian culture, salient aspects of art form, literature and architecture, and this has appeared in today's The Hindu, page number 14. So these Padma Awards are conferred by President of India, and awardees receive a Sanad certificate which is signed by the President, a medallion and a miniature replica which is worn during the ceremonial or the state functions where the award will be given. Also, names of these awardees are published in the Gazette of India. And there are three categories of the Padma Award. One is Padma Vibhushan, then Padma Bhushan, and then we have the Padma Shri. So the highest civilian award in India is the Bharat Ratna, which was instituted in 1951, and it is awarded for exceptional service performance of highest order in any field or human endeavor. No formal recommendation process. Nominations are made by the Prime Minister to the President, and he announced, then the government announces the Bharat Ratna. Whereas in the Padma Award, it is one of the highest civilian award, and it is announced annually on the eve of Republic Day. It was again instituted in 1954, and it was reclassified into three categories in year 1955. The Padma Vibhushan, which is exceptional and distinguished service, then Padma Bhushan, which is distinguished service of highest order, and then we have the Padma Shri, which is the distinguished service. What is the eligibility criteria? It is open to all person regardless of race, occupation, position or sex, and the government servants except the doctors and scientists are not eligible for getting Padma Award. This can be one of the options in the actual examination. It also recognizes achievements in a field with the public service element. The various illustrative fields are art, social work, public affairs, science and engineering, trade and industry, medicine, literature and education, civil services, sports, and some others like human rights, wildlife protection, Indian culture, etc. And these Padma Awards are not a title. They cannot be used as prefix or suffix, and which this was also highlighted in Balaji Raghavan case of 1996. Also, posthumous awards are rare but possible in exceptional cases, and upgradation to higher category can be only done after 5 years unless waived for highly deserving cases. Also, there is a committee in which the cabinet secretary, principal secretary to prime minister and various other distinguished people are part of that committee, which recommends the name to the prime minister, and then they finally decides to whom they will be confirming that Padma Awards. And this is a practice question of PYQ, previous year question 2021. Consider the following statement in respect to Bharat Ratna and Padma Awards. Please tell me the answer of this question in the comment box. This is all from today's Analyst. Thank you very much. All the very best. Keep studying.